then whatever the issue or the pressure or the problem or the fear is, it's like clay. You get to mold it and shape it into what you want it to be, work it out, and when you wake up in the morning, you find you have solutions and strategies that perhaps you weren't able to come to cognitively. I'm Gila Zak, certified hypnotherapist, and welcome to this episode of the G-Spot. This is the place where we talk about all sorts of curious and interesting things that are related to human behavior and hypnosis. And today our topic is going to be dreams. Now, everybody dreams, but not everybody always remembers their dreams. And the most common reason for this is because we are often not taught that they have any meaning for us. Now, we can practice remembering our dreams, we can program our dreams, and we're going to talk about all of this and more today. There are many different theories as to why we dream and what our dreams mean, but in truth, these theories are always evolving as the science and the research brings us into new places and spaces of possibility. Now, there are different types of dreams. We have recurring dreams, we have nightmares, we can have vivid dreams, lucid dreams. We can have healing dreams. We can have false awakenings and even what some people experience as prophetic dreams. But in truth, these dreams are all coming from a place as nebulous and as misunderstood as the subconscious mind itself. The subconscious mind is always communicating through symbol and metaphor, and it's trying to give us information that's not going to be linear and direct and literal. This is why our dreams can seem so strange and confusing to us at times. We know that the subconscious mind in dream time is helping us to problem solve. It's helping us to predict. It's helping us to vent the overload of emotional stress throughout the day. So this is why when your life is more hectic and chaotic, your dreams are likely to reflect this. When your life is more serene and sort of mundane, you're going to have just the everyday dreams that help you to vent just the input of stimulus that we're taking in each day. There is a particular theory of dreams that I like to follow because I found it to be quite accurate. And this was put forth by Dr. John Kappas, the founder of HMI College of Hypnotherapy. And he posited that there were three meaningful and significant segments of dreaming. The first segments of dreams that we have were those in that first sleep cycle, about the first 90 minutes after we fall asleep. And these were just kind of like the taking out the trash, the letting go of the junk mail, just the average, everyday shit that comes in and out of our senses. Now, you might experience this as when you're kind of just drifting off into dream time and you're walking up some stairs, or maybe you're walking on a particular surface and you stub your toe and you jerk awake like this. That jerk is designed to release the accumulation of neural tension within the body so that we can prepare the brain and the nervous system, the muscles, to go into deep relaxation of the delta stage of sleep. So if you haven't experienced this, most people have, just keep an eye out for it, because I always know that right after that happens, the juicy deliciousness of sleep is right there behind it. The next stage of dreaming that Dr. Kappas posited was the middle of the night dreams. Now, if you go to sleep around 10 o'clock at night, this is going to be between like 1 and 4 in the morning. This is significant for a couple of reasons. Now, in Chinese medicine, we have an organ clock. And between 1 and 4, the liver is very active. It's when it's detoxifying, it's helping us to filter and cleanse. And we can sometimes need an extra dose of glucose to do this. And if our blood sugar drops during this time, it can cause us to have a very stimulating dream because of the adrenaline in our system. And then we might have a nightmare of sorts, or we have a dream that we're falling. This is a very common one. When people have dreams that they're falling, they very often tend to come at this particular time of night. And the theory is that it's precipitated by a drop in blood sugar. Now, the other reason why this period of dreaming can be so important is because this is the time that we theorize that the subconscious mind is trying to problem solve, predict, and to basically try to figure shit out. So if we have a problem in our life, something that we're not quite sure how to get through, we're likely to have dreams in this stage that are helping us to try to figure it out. So if these dreams are stimulating enough, they will wake us up. So if you have this experience, I encourage you to take advantage of this time, because you're very suggestible. Hypnosis happens when we take in the suggestion and it's the yes. So if you're having these dreams and something wakes you up and you know that the problem is, let's just say I'm having a conflict with a coworker, and you don't kind of know how to hash that out during the day, but you have this dream in the middle of the night where you're just like choking them out, right? This is a common one. Or they're chasing you and you just can't get away from them. But if you come out of this dream, pause right there. This is a natural hypnotic state. And you can then kind of go through the dream and ask yourself, what does this mean? So it's a problem solving, it's a predicting time, it's a very productive state of dreaming. Now, the final stage of dreaming is what we call the venting dreams. And this happens in that last sleep cycle just before you awaken for the day. And the theory here is that, okay, we've taken out the junk mail, we've gotten rid of, just the overload of neural stress through that first cycle of dreaming, and we've problem solved, we've predicted, we've solved the Rubik's Cube, and now we can toss it out. And then those dreams that we have right before we awaken, the venting dreams, are a way for us to release the emotional connection to whatever it was that we were processing in dream time. So when clients come to me because they have anxiety, or they have a particular fear, or maybe they're having trouble making a decision about something, and they say to me, Gila, you told me I was going to have some venting dreams, but why am I dreaming about the very thing that we're here trying to get rid of in your sessions? And I tell them to reach around and pat themselves on the back, because that's the subconscious mind having problem solved, and now it's letting go of the emotional association to the issue. The number one mistake we can make when we come out of a dream, whether it's the middle of the night or right before we awaken for the day, is to analyze our dreams from a linear perspective. They're not going to make any sense, nor should they. So if somebody gets too wrapped up in what the meaning of the dream is and they're trying to figure it out, we can actually reassociate back into the emotions that we were trying to get rid of in the first place. Now, an example of how our dreams are communicating to us through metaphor is very similar, if not exactly the same, when we experience hypnosis. An example of this would be someone comes to me and they say, I'm having these recurring dreams. And this recurring dream is that I'm being chased by a fork. And every time I have this dream, the fork is getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it's looming over me, and I really feel afraid. I feel like I'm going to be in bodily harm's way. And I ask them, well, what's going on in your life? Let's talk about this. We go into hypnosis, and it turns out that this particular person is in a romantic relationship and they're being pressured for sex and they're not ready for it yet. Now, the subconscious mind has been so clever, so creative, that it's created a symbol in the fork that keeps getting bigger and bigger as a relation to this person having a fear. Well, you know the F word I'm talking about, right? So the subconscious is so clever, and this is why I love hypnosis, because we can use dream therapy as a process to help a person process a daily life experience that's causing them a lot of stress and anxiety. Now that we're talking about recurring dreams, there are some people that have recurring dreams from their childhood. They'll say, Gila, I've had this dream ever since I was a child, and it comes about at certain times of the year or in certain situations or when they get around certain groups of people or environments. Now, recurring dreams, the theory is that there is an ongoing issue that the person has, and the subconscious mind just doesn't know what to do with it. It doesn't know how to problem solve it. It doesn't have the resources, either in reality or at the unconscious level, to be able to cope with it. So when we find ourselves having this recurring dream, we can start to map out, okay, where am I? What's going on? What's the commonality right before I have these dreams in the hours or days that come before the dream? Because that's going to give you the clue of what the issue might be. If it's a nightmare, this is especially significant because this means that the subconscious mind feels it as a threat, and it doesn't know what to do with this threat. And real or imagined is all the same to the subconscious mind. If you've seen any of my videos, I usually mention it at least once. And in dream time, the subconscious is doing the same thing we do in hypnosis. We're trying to figure shit out. Now, with the recurring dreams, sometimes we can grow out of them. And that is because as we mature emotionally, we get the skills and the resources to cope with the problem, and then it's no longer an issue, and that's when the dreams stop. Some people will have a nightmare, and it's usually because something very recent has happened. So something really big, really recent, and the subconscious mind has taken it, processed it, problem solved it, and said, now I need to let the emotional stimulus and the physical stress of it go, and then the nightmare will ensue as a way to do just this. Let's talk for a moment about false awakenings. This is a common one that I hear about, and if you've experienced it, it's quite interesting, quite novel. What this looks like is exactly what it is. We are in the dream, and we are dreaming that we are dreaming, and we know we are dreaming, and then we wake up in the dream, but we're really not awake. We're dreaming that we're awake. And the person might get up and walk through the house or go someplace or do something, and then at some point in the dream, they actually wake up from that into real time. And this can be a little discombobulating to people. You know, it's like, wait a minute, what the hell's going on here? But in truth, this is again the subconscious mind moving through the levels of experience, the changes in brain waves, and it can manifest itself as a false awakening. Now, this is different than lucid dreaming. If you've ever heard of lucid dreaming, or maybe you haven't, it's the concept of you're in the dream, you know you're dreaming, and you can control everything in the dream. These can be especially helpful to teach yourself and train yourself how to do. Why is this? Because it's self-hypnosis 101. It's problem solving at its core. So if you're having a dream and you know you're dreaming, and you realize in the dream, wait a minute, I can control this dream, then whatever the issue or the pressure or the problem or the fear is, it's like clay. You get to mold it and shape it into what you want it to be, work it out, and when you wake up in the morning, you find you have solutions and strategies that perhaps you weren't able to come to cognitively. And lucid dream is specifically different from a false awakening because you have an innate sense that you can shift the scenarios. You can choose how you want to think and feel in the dream, whereas a false awakening is just a dream within a dream. Now, how does this relate to hypnosis and hypnotherapy? You, me, and everyone out there, we all have goals. We all have things we want to achieve. And a way that we can supercharge the subconscious mind to help us in this endeavor is to create a belief system that which we want to achieve, we can. There's a magic 30-minute window right before you go to sleep at night where we are all naturally in a hyper-suggestible state. Whatever we're thinking and feeling has that much more impact and influence over the unconscious mind. So if you keep a little journal next to your bed, a little dream journal, or I like to just keep a blank notebook from the dollar store. And if you write each and every night the same goal that you want to achieve as if it's happened in real time. So an example for this is when I was building my practice, I wrote every single night, I booked 2 new clients per week. I booked 2 new clients per week. I wrote that 3 times every night before I went to sleep. Now, in my waking hours, I'm doing the shit I need to do to make sure that I can bring that business in, right? You're networking, you're going out, you're doing all the things you do to build a business. But I'm training my subconscious mind to expect that clients are going to come to me as a result of what I am doing in real time. As time went on, I booked those 2 clients, so then I bumped it up. I booked 5 new clients a week. I booked 5 new clients a week. And you know, there's a ton of hypnotherapists in this small area where I live, and I personally don't believe in competition, that it's going to detract from who I am, because there's only one of me and there's only one of you. So whatever your industry is, you, baby, are only unique to you. But I wanted to use this practice to just train my subconscious mind to not even have to think about where my next client is coming from, freeing up that bandwidth, that space to just get in here and do what I love without having to give so much emotional energy to the building of the business. So as time went on, it was probably somewhere around 6-8 months, maybe 10 months, I had a dream in the middle of a night, a predictive dream. And I remember this dream so clearly because I woke up from it. Now in this dream, I'm sleeping in my bed and I hear a knock at the door. And I wake up and I put on my robe, I walk down the hall, I open the door, and there's a line of people out my front doorstep. And I ask them, what are you doing here? What do you want? And they tell me, well, we're here for hypnotherapy. And I'm telling them, well, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I haven't even had my coffee yet. You need to call my office and book an appointment. And this person tried to push through the door and said, no, we want hypnosis now. Well, I closed the door on him. I turned around, went right back into my bed. And as soon as I closed my eyes, I woke up from the dream in real time. So this is an example of a false awakening, and I was training my subconscious mind to expect that I never need to worry where my clients are coming from ever again. They're lining up, predicting the dream on what my expectation will be at the unconscious level. Another aspect of dreaming that I absolutely love is when dreams become a mental rehearsal. And this is another theory of why people believe that we dream in the first place, among others. But you've had these dreams where you know something is coming up for you, an event or an obligation or an experience, and you dream of it ahead of time. Or perhaps there's an expectation for you in life somewhere, and you start to dream that you're going through the steps and the stages. And the subconscious is so clever. It can help you by creating a template, a pattern for which you can follow when you're no longer in dream time to have a more successful outcome in that particular experience. This is also something that you can train yourself to do. Now, I've talked a little bit about teaching yourself to dream. And the number one thing that we need to consider when it comes to our dreams is what could be inhibiting us from a physiological or a chemical level. Now, if we are using certain medications, if we are using drugs or alcohol, cannabis can sometimes inhibit our dreams, then naturally we're not going to cycle through the dream stages and the brainwave stages that we would need to spend the time in REM that would give us the dream experience. The other thing that can keep us from dreaming the way we want to is just by not believing that we can or that we do. Everybody dreams. If you are not remembering it, it doesn't mean that you're not dreaming. How can I say this? Well, because they did a very interesting study. And in this study, they had groups of people. In one group over here, they were kept awake for 72 hours and not allowed to sleep at all. The other group, they were allowed to sleep, but as soon as they started to dream, they were waken up. And once they were awoken, then they could go back to sleep. But every time they started to dream, boom, popped them awake. Third group of people, the control group, got to sleep and dream and make those Z's all night long. Now what they found is that the group of people who were not allowed to sleep at all and the group of people who were not allowed to dream experienced the same deterioration in physical well-being, nervous system, fatigue and stress, and mental incapacity. So both parties, both groups were affected equally. Now when the study was over, for the rest of the population, they kept this group of people here who were not allowed to dream but were allowed to sleep. What they found with the group of people that they continued to monitor is that when they were allowed to dream, they dreamt 2 to 3 times more than they would on average. And why is this? Because the subconscious mind knows that dreaming has its own value and its own purpose, and that is to vent the neurological, psychological, and physiological stress that was built up from not dreaming. The flip side to this is that certain emotional states can inhibit our ability to dream. Now, clinical depression, severe depression, people very likely aren't dreaming. And what's happening is they're sleeping so deeply for longer segments that they're not spending enough time in REM sleep. And what happens is they're not going through that venting cycle that happens just before they awaken in the morning. And so they're really not able to vent that overload of neurological, psychological, and physiological stress. Now, hypnosis can help with this because we can invite the person through the experience of hypnosis to not only address some of the issues that could be contributing to the depression, but we can invite the subconscious mind to begin to dream as a way of therapy to help get the process going again so that a naturally occurring state can support the person in beginning to lift out of the depressive state. The other thing that people can experience is an excess of REM sleep and not enough of the deep restorative sleep. So this happens when a person spends too much time in REM, and it can be really taxing. You know, these are active hallucinations, people. You're seeing things, hearing things, tasting things, feeling things. And so if you're spending too much time in the REM state, you're not going to spend as much in the deep restorative sleep, and you're likely to awaken feeling as if you really didn't get a good night's sleep. Where the hypnosis can help here is addressing what it is the person is trying to problem solve, predict, that Rubik's Cube that it just keeps trying to solve. And so when we can solve those problems with hypnosis and we can go in and get the closure or just fix that shit altogether, then we can narrow down and go into a more healthy expression of REM sleep. Something I want to touch upon is sleep paralysis. About 50% of the population have experienced this at least once, if not all the time. And what happens is that when we go to sleep at night, certain chemical changes need to take place within the brain and body to keep us from thrashing about and acting out our dreams while we sleep. Dreams are supposed to be restorative in every way, mentally, physiologically, neurologically. And if we act out our dreams too much, then again, we're going to awaken feeling really tired and not well rested. Now, for some people, they create an abundance of the chemistry within the brain that creates what we call tonic inhibition. So it keeps us from moving. And when we go to wake up in the morning, as we start to come out of the dream state, there can be that moment, that brief period of time where we know we're awake, but we can't move our body, what some people refer to as the sleep paralysis. And this can be really frightening for some people. They don't understand what it is. Even in certain cultures, there is a mystique, a belief system that when this happens, it's because a demon has got you trapped and they're there to take your soul. And so those people in those cultures are very likely to have a higher rate of heart attack as a result, because they believe that this naturally occurring experience has a different, more mystical and nefarious purpose. But I'm here to tell you that this is natural. Everybody experiences it to some degree with at least 50% of the population. The other 50% are those who act out their dreams more physically, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Now, finally, I'd like to address dream therapy and hypnosis. I have clients that come to me quite often who are experiencing very vivid dreams of which they get up and act out. They attack their partner, they go to the refrigerator and eat food, they put on clothes and go get in their car thinking that they're supposed to be somewhere. And no, they're not taking Ambien. This is just something that they've experienced throughout their whole lives. They're very, very active dreamers. They don't have that chemical that we need to elicit the feeling of what we call sleep paralysis. And so they act out their dreams more physically. Now, where the hypnosis comes into play is that when these dreams happen, there's always a consistent theme. And we can put the person into a deep hypnotic trance. We can reenact the dream. It becomes now effectively a lucid dream. And the client gets to resolve the issue in the hypnotic state that they are experiencing in the dream, and then the dreams will lessen in intensity or they will completely fall off the map. So I hope I've given you some good information and piqued your interest in dreams. I encourage you to keep a dream journal next to your bedside. It can be an incredibly powerful and therapeutic process. And if you look over time at your dreams, you will see that they will mirror what you're going through in your daily life. And you can learn to program these states in your favor to help you problem solve, predict, and move beyond the challenges that you're experiencing. So if you have liked this content, if you found it interesting, please leave your comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this information, subscribe and share. And I look forward to seeing you next time on the G-Spot. Bye.